Hello everybody, my name's Ben Yard and I'm the Somerset Whittler, and today we're going to attempt to whittle Batman. So we have here a 1 by 1 by 4 basswood stick. Usually I will just sit and whittle away, but just to show, we're going to plan this a little bit. So we're just going to draw around our stick twice, same height. Very loosely based, just so we can get an idea of where we're going with our design before we start chipping away. So again, just loosely. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to start by rounding off the head as much as we can, but leaving a portion here for what will be his bat ears, and then we're going to come down and give him a largish face so we can get some features on it. So it'll be something like that. Have his shoulders coming in here, and we're going to have him as being a bit of a lazy Batman. So we will have his hands in his pockets somewhere around here-ish. So we'll have his feet just slightly off the bottom of the block. Sorry, that tapping is my dog walking on my laminate flooring in my studio. That is roughly where we're going with this block. And then on the side, we're going to have his head coming in, his back here, coming in with the facial features, sort of here and here, before coming into his feet area. His feet area will come in here, won't it? So it'll be more like that for his feet. And what I think we might do is we might just nibble in a little bit here and here. I'm going to leave the back piece so it looks as though he's got a cape on. So we'll have a cape on here. I'm going to leave that so you can just see the back of the cape. And that is what we'll do. So where we can go with that is we can see putting that back alongside where we are. We're relatively happy with the, it doesn't have to be an accurate drawing, but we're relatively happy with how that's balanced out. If we needed to, we could have adjusted it where we needed to. And then we can just mark on the actual block just roughly where we were going to have that head. I'm going to drop those feet pretty much right to the bottom. And we're going to have those hands going in their pocket round about here. But let's start with rounding that top. Okay, so all we're going to do is we're going to round the top of the here on the sides. Now we can shape these ears whether we want them to go directly straight up or whether we want them to lean in a little bit, but they won't be running from the front, so we will just take the front corners off, and they won't be running from the back, so we will just take the back corners off as well. And those ears are going to run around this sort of area here. We want that to be the same on the other side as we look down through, so the ears are going to run sort of here. So if we take up those sides to those points, as we do on the other side, and then we'll just bring that front and back in. We can make these ears quite subtle, or we could get them to go quite deeper. So what we're going to do is we're going to round that front piece off while not touching the two sides. So we're just going to roll our blade in here, cutting a bit of a channel. Now I've got some gouges that will do this quite a bit quicker. But for now, because we're whittling, we're just going to use this knife, and we are just going to patiently carve in the we could go a bit deeper. We could take these quite tall if we wanted to. Obviously, it'll give them quite a different look, but there's been lots of versions of Batman, hasn't there? So I don't think we need to panic too much about him looking slightly more bigger or smaller eared, as long as we've got our ears in there, which I believe we have there. I'm quite happy with that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to block out his head. So we're going to just run that line just up a touch so he comes up. Same on the other side, just up a touch. And then round the front, like so. And we will just shape his head in next. So just follow that line across. Just remember, we were going to decide that we were going to give him a bit of a cloak. So we will go in here so that we can shape his head, but we don't want to go in as deep as we might possibly have done before. Just give ourselves the option to do that by not taking off too much at this stage. Same around the neck as well. We won't take off too much at this stage because we will see how much we're going to need here for the front of his cloak. But we will just run up through and take the corners off because we won't be needing them. Okay, same on this side then. Just going to go up. Okay, and we're starting to get the outline now of our Batman face. So we don't want this too narrow because we has nice masculine jawline. So we're just almost going to shape that in. So what we're going to do to try and create our nose is just try and bring the sides across without making it too narrow. So we'll just keep shaping where we need to shape on the corners. Like so. And then we'll just bring those in a bit. Just bring that. So what we would have needed really when we started, if I was clever enough in the beginning, was just to draw a center line, which we didn't really require up until now. So that's our center line. So bringing these in each side is just going to allow us to make sure we're level as we draw that nose. And no doubt you can hear my Frenchy bulldog now really getting into her sleep. She's usually banned to the front room when I'm doing a video, but she's not been very well today. Got a bit of an eye infection. She's feeling sorry for herself, so she wants to be near her daddy. So okay. We're getting that bat-like face. What we'd usually do here is bring these closer together, so we've almost got another point like we have here, and then we can actually cut in what would be the human ear. But at this stage we don't need to worry about that because his ears are on top of his head. So all we're going to do is curl it around both sides to meet. So you're thinking about character designs. When you've done a few, you wouldn't have to get the bit of paper out because you'll realise that what we've done so far could have been, you know, this guy could be, even now could be the Black Panther. We could take the ears off and we could be looking at a Mandalorian or anything really. All we're doing is the roughing out process. We might have done it slightly differently around here if we were going to do a character with ears, even an Iron Man or any of those type of superheroes. We'd pretty much set it up the same as what we have done here. Okay, so we're just shaping that in. like so. Okay, so we're well on our way now. Well on our way now to shaping out our Batman. And it hasn't taken us very long at all, because we've only got a small bit of wood. But we've still got a bit of planning to do. So we're bringing in towards that pencil line so that we can cut in the nose that we want. So we want those sides to be pretty level. Pretty level. We want that to come in a little bit. Okay, so we've got his eyes to come in yet. So his nose is going to come in to the bottom of the nose, sort of halfway between the head. So going to come in about there-ish. And we will come up and we will cut the nose. Now this is going to be slightly different to how we might do a normal figure, because our man is going to be wearing a mask. Yes, Lulu. He's going to be wearing a mask. Okay. And then we're going to have the eyes coming in at about there. So we can just frame in a brow. Of course, he's going to be masked. Now we're starting to see some shape now. So all we're going to do is just take our time, really, just to make sure that we've got the brow pretty much where we want it. Just take your time. We're going to roll that cut I was talking about. We're just going to roll in here towards the nose. You can probably see there by my type of cuts, my knife is now requiring to be stropped because it's leaving marks. This is where we are with him. We're just going to nip that nose up a touch. You can pretty much do this nose however you want, but I would suggest if he's wearing a mask, it's probably not going to be too big a nose. I'm going to want to come in here. Make sure we get some good definition in here where we want those eyes to go. And what we're going to do, because he's a masked man and we're not doing eyes as per the normal, we are going to use a gouge. There we go. We're going to keep his jaw nice and wide. Being a superhero, he's going to have a nice wide jaw. But we're just going to pause it here. And that's what we've done to block in his head so far. We can round all that off and get that looking good. Okay, I'm going to grab myself a cup of tea and I'll be straight back. And we're back. Back to it. Okay. This is where we were. So now we've got to plan the next piece. So what we're going to do is this Batman's going to have a cape. Like all good Batman. Have a cape. It's going to go over the top of his shoulders, and we're going to run the cape right down the back to the bottom. And we're going to do the same on this side. Run the cape around the back and all the way to the bottom. Making sure we got enough. Just come on the inside of this line, making sure we got enough room on that. And then we've got his feet down the bottom. So let's just cut his feet in to start. So both sides, just going to take it down. On both corners. This is where his legs are running down to meet his feet. And then our line across there is where our feet we're going to meet the stick of the wood. Just shave the corners down to it. Just taking away the edges. Just rounding that chest area in. And this Batman we're going to do with his hands in his pockets. We could have had him, which I've not done because I'm going to do it on another character later, probably on the next one. So we could have drawn in here his fists, and then we could have cut in his fists, and then we could have had two black gloves kind of meeting up like a punch like that in the middle. That would have looked pretty groovy. I might do that on my next Batman. You'd want that round about here. And then, but you'd have to cut in this area, leaving that area open, but it would look quite good because you could have a black cape here, black gloves here, and then grey in here, grey legs, the black feet down the bottom. So that would look pretty cool. On this one, we're going to end up with, once we cut this piece in, we're going to end up with an arm. It's going to come down somewhere like that and into a pocket. Down about there. Same on the other side. It's going to come in here and it's going to end up coming into a pocket. Trying to keep that levelish around there. So that's kind of how that's going to work. So you could sweep this chest area along that arm, just catching in the corner where the elbow would be. On the other side, just kind of getting that shape that you want for this filling out. And we'll leave this area a little bit because we'll try and create that. When he's put his hands in his pockets, we'll just try and create that hand bulge. And then with the cape, we can come down into a V or not, whichever way you want to do it. I like the idea of the V. And then we'll just cut down and into the cut, like so. So we're creating our cape. Got lots of things in my way here. I have just realised as I've come back from my tea break that I've not plugged the microphone in, so hopefully you can still hear me all right. But I did purchase a new microphone for some of these YouTube videos, which I was using in the beginning, so this will be quite good to find out if the sound quality was any better or not. Always a bit suspect of these new techie things. Plug a microphone in when the actual phone is right next to my mouth anyway, so I don't know if it makes much of a difference, but that'll be good to find out, won't it? Okay, so this is where the leg area is coming back. So let's chisel that away a bit more. We can decide, if we look at it sideways, and get a good idea of how far back we want to go. Definitely want to go back a bit further here. Yeah, I think we're doing all right with that. Just come under where we've got this hand. So we've got the hand going roughly in there, so we just come up under there and just do like a scoop cut down into the leg. Okay, so we're just bringing it in a bit. We'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so that's where we are with them so far. So, now, what we can do is we can get a V-tool, or we can still use our knife if we need to. I'm going to get a V-tool because I don't usually use other tools on my videos. So let's see. Let's try that. And we're just going to go up the line we just drew for the cape. Okay, up the line we just drew for the cape. Just so we've got that line established. Okay, what I think I'm going to do, it'd be nice to see the back of that cape as you're looking at him straight or at a slight angle. So I am going to just run up the side. And I'm going to cut this shoulder around to join where we've done the cape at the front. And this is just kind of creating the shoulder with the cape just going over the top of the shoulder. Okay. Just taking our time, no rush. We're not mass producing here. And this is all about chilling out, relaxing, enjoying what we're doing. So you can see we've got the cape. We're just going to nibble that foot. I'm going to angle that back towards the cape. Just be careful because I've just, what this bit hid, that's the actual foot there. And I've just knocked my line out. So I should have just nibbled that away first before I cut the foot back. But there you go, live and learn. And I did say when I started this channel that it was going to be warts and all, and it was just going to be some of my little whittling projects on video. So you've got to see my mistakes as I make them. And I'm sure I'm going to get better at this video editing malarkey, but I don't plan on using it to crop or chop any mistakes out. So we're going to have him standing on this little block. I don't know why I like doing that, but I just do. It's just the way I like doing them. And then what I should have done was when I come down here, I should have stopped there and joined up that, and then the foot should have come back when I actually sliced it all away. But you live and learn, not an issue. If you were following along in real time exactly the same, then you probably made the same mistake. If you didn't, good for you, because now you don't have to. And then what we can do is we'll just nibble that. We will nibble that there a touch. I think we will follow that back now. So I think I will do on both sides, otherwise it might highlight it more. So I think I will bring it back in. Anyway, could have used a V-tool because that's what we were doing on the other side. So I'm chopping and changing. Let's go back. Let's use the V-tool because it'll be easier to mark out that cloak accurately. Just swing that around to join up. Join up with our cloak. I've got a bit of a cold, so excuse me if you hear me snivelling all the time. I struggle with colds. And it's been rainy and cold and miserable here in the UK for a little while now, as we're in, where are we now, March, middle of March. Hopefully things will start cheering up a little bit weather-wise. Seems very much like COVID has disappeared now that we've got something else for our news reporters to be reporting on. Bit strange that. Okay, we just bring those legs in. I've done one of these previously, which is on my Instagram, which you can see. Hopefully this guy won't be too far dissimilar, because he came out quite well. I liked him. We sold him. I think he went to Cambridgeshire, somewhere like that, with the Joker. They came out well. enjoyed doing those two. So this is kind of a replicating them a little bit, but they never all come out the same, so each one's individual. See, with that cloak in behind, what's quite good is when he stands slightly to the side like this will be grey and this will be black, so you'll get that cloak standing out a little bit. Okay, we will just round off this area now. And when we're happy about where our legs are, which I think we are, we're relatively happy with our positioning of our legs, I believe. Let's just shape our feet a little bit. We could bring these in and make them quite small. We could put one on top of the other with this. If you wanted to use a little bit of that space that I've used as a step, you could have used that. Let's put in one foot on top of the other one. That would look a bit different. What I'm going to do is just round this off into a bit of a foot shape. I'm going to go middle. We had our line there. You might not be able to see that on camera, but I still got my center line. So that should be my center line. Okay. Then we're going to take a little corner at the bottom of that one. A little chip. A little chip out of the other one. Okay, just defining the feet a little bit. And then turning them upside down, we're just going to go slightly at an angle and follow that cut across. And take a chip out there. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Slight angle. All the way back. Take a chip out there. And we've kind of formed some feet. We'll nibble away at them. Just to separate them a touch. Okay, so we've got some feet. And we can shape them, nibble them away, make them thinner, make them standing further apart if you wanted to. Could have used some of this wood to have one on top of the other. Lots of different ideas you can do to make this your own. Doesn't have to be exactly copied. Okay, and what we're going to do to get a bit of definition or to separate on the legs a little bit is we can either take this further back in if we wanted a skinnier Batman. I'm not going to do neither skinny nor tubby Batman, but what we are going to do is we're going to go from where those feet touch in there. We're just going to come up a touch, and then we're just going to draw a relatively equal triangle here. Okay, stand that up. That's roughly where it's going to separate his legs, and it wasn't very equal at all. So let me just play around with that again. Great thing about having a pencil. So that will just separate his legs a little bit, and we will still come in under this arm when we've decided where it's going to be. I think we pretty much have. I think we pretty much decided that that is our arm. So we'll come in under here and bring this down. And we'll do the same on this side as well. So we've pretty decided that that is our arm. Okay. So here we will just follow that line that we've just created. Just knock a chip out of each one. Okay, and then we're just going to run along that each side, going right down to the leg. Just to define that leg area. You can, if you were doing a character who's wearing more trousery type thing rather than tights, you could follow that round and have those legs quite separated, and then this area here would be kind of like a belly gusset area which could be hanging over slightly. I could still do that with this type of character actually, or we could just keep it real simple, kind of as we've just done. So just spent a minute or two just tidying up those legs. Just going to sweep down, just bringing those legs in a little bit. Just be careful you don't go through that cloak that we've just done. Careful you don't slice your fingers if they're on the other side of it. There you go. Just to bring that in a touch. We can clean that up later by just going down the cloak, just to remove where my knife's caught it. But we'll worry about that later. And what's on one side, we want on the other. So we will just bring that in the same sort of way. Okay, try and just keep this area relatively round. And then just do rolling cuts, several of them up through the body, from the chest into the bottom of that cloak. both sides, just trying to keep it level. This one will look a bit exaggerated to start with on the sides, but we're going to bring that in a touch, just so we got that. It's not too flat looking. Just rounding that out. Both sides. Okay. So what we got, I will almost imagine, is his hands are going into his pockets. Let's imagine what that would look like on our character. It's going to be about there and about there, say. We want that to look relatively level, one going into another. So we want the angle of the elbow here and the angle of the elbow here to be relatively prominent. So I would go in there, and just remove a chip or two, and then just take a look, and then maybe roll that. Just roll a couple of cuts in so you can get an idea of your positioning. I think we're good. Do the same on the other side. Wear a glove if you're new to it. Wear a glove anyway. Don't be like me. Wear a glove anyway. Okay. I'm gonna just do that same roll here. Okay. I think we're looking relatively good. Just roll those shoulders a touch. We're going to come at the back of the arm here. I'm just going to go the back of the elbow. We're just going to cut that out for a bit of definition. And then come in this arm, which is coming into a pocket, remember? So we don't want to go too far across. So if we imagine our pocket's going to be, let's say our pocket is there. Okay. So if that's our pocket, then we want to be going kind of in there. Yeah. Removing a bit of the back here so we can just keep that cape relatively prominent. That's a good part of the design. Getting that shoulder into the cape will look better. Not completely necessary. Same on the other side. Again, we're going to go into the arm. That's just going to allow us to shape it around the back as we did round here. Like so. Okay, I'm just going to stop there for a break. And we are back again. Okay, so we were just moulding our Batman. He's got a relatively decent profile. Still early in the roughing it out really. You can, for the elbows, you could use something along these lines, which is like a soft V tool. And you could just come in on the elbow and running it up into the shoulder. Makes it a darn sight easier. And just avoids digging in too much and making too much of a sharp indentation with your knife. Or you could, if you had a, I mean, this is clearly too big a gouge for this type of guide, but you could just use a gouge just to do a little bit of separation, just to move that arm out and the body in a touch. Like I say, that gouge is far too big, so you could take a smaller one if you've got them in your toolkit. Just run it up to separate just to separate that arm and shoulder a little bit. Could do that. Or you could just use your knife. Keep grinding. If I can use my knife, I tend to use my knife. But just pull that elbow back. Jumping all over the place here, haven't I? I was actually over here, wasn't I? That was a while ago. Right, so we didn't want to go too far across because we had this hand, it was like it was in the pocket. So we wanted to sort of try and keep that idea. So we just wanted to remove from under the arm back, which will help the arm pop out and help our legs tuck in. And that's where we should have been before I started dancing all over the place. Okay. Just stop every now and again and just double check what you got against the other piece. This guy's legs are becoming much more narrower than I've done them in the past. I have kind of done that in the hope that it might take a decent, it might just allow you to see the cloak a bit better. My first one I did, I really liked the way the cloak ran down the back and just gave it a slightly different look. And then in taking the front shots, if you've seen it, you don't really see the cloak so much. But I'm just thinking if I'd make the legs narrower on here and just tuck them in a little bit, then you're going to see that cloak a lot better on the sides here when you look at him. So you're going to just see that a bit better. Let's just tuck this because we won't want a fat Batman, that's for sure. So let's just tuck him in a little bit. Just round these arms off a little bit as well. This cape's looking big. Big now, but you could leave it like that, or you could play around with that. Could allow you to put a bit of movement in it. So you could take a gouge and you could just put a couple of strokes in it, which will just give it a bit of movement. You could then follow up with a knife. Just rounding that off around the back. Okay. We're just going to put a bit of definition in the elbow joint here. So we're just going to have that slight elbow cut coming in. And then we're going to just define that elbow a little bit by just cutting into it. Just to allow us to distinguish that arm a touch. Now that pocket is going to run from there and around, and we're going to cut it from top down in. It's going to come this way. Okay, and in that bottom corner, we're just going to take a nibble out. Give it more of the illusion that the hand is going into the pocket, and then that will just allow you to take little nibbles and little chunks around the arm so it's not looking quite so square. And then maybe you can do the same, if you've got enough wood, do the same thing to the front. Just take a small nibble out that top. He's looking more like he's got his hand in the pocket. And we're going to want to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so just to find that elbow attach by just going in, just having a little nibble in the corner. And you can see from the front where the paint will sit that we'll be able to define those arms, get those arms out. Now, by those pockets, we're just going to bring that up a little bit. Okay, we're making this guy look a little bit trimmer now at the top and the arms. What we're going to want to do is just roll some cuts around that area and down, simply because we don't want him having this big sort of belly gusset area down here, but we left that so that we could just undercut that pocket area a little bit, so it looked like his hands were in his pockets more, which means we can bring those legs in a little bit more. You see, hopefully you can see as we go around and do more of it. Because he's got his hands in his pockets, I feel like we do need to define the trouser area, so we can have that just running around like that. I'll just define his trouser area. We don't have to cut that in till later on, but just penciling it in so you can visualize that. We do want to just give that illusion all the way around. These hands are in fact in his pockets. We've done it here on the milkman. So you've actually gone quite deep into the milkman. Hands in his pockets. Another fella, not quite so much, but we have just trimmed it in so his hands are in his pockets. This fella I got sat up here, you can see nicely swollen out on the pockets. If you got the wood, I want a little bit of a chunkier character. Okay. So this Batman's taking on a look a little bit like he's a father, and he's dressing up for his son as Batman. That's pretty cool, isn't it? That very idea makes me think, oh, we should give him a 5 o'clock shadow. He should be a tired looking dad type character. That'd be pretty cool, actually. So we're just going to follow that around to just kind of, it will just allow us to separate the trouser from the top. I'm not overly concerned exactly what Batman's outfit looks like, because I want it to have our own sort of look about it. So I think we've got it reasonably where we want it. Okay. And again, just keep rounding that area off until you're happy. That looks like hands in the pockets per se. If you have a gouge, by all means just use it. I would go a little bit careful though. You don't want to go too gung-ho with it. But we are defining that hand in the pocket. same time, you don't want those hands going too far in and down, because it'll look like he's holding on to his toilet. So just start to shape them into the position we want them to be into. Just slightly higher up than we initially had them. Okay, so after all that shaping, I'm just going to go back down, just shape that area we had between his legs again, because I kind of reshaped all that then. Okay, so that's where we are with him. I will just probably off screen just tidy him up a little bit. I like to take my time with some of it. Just tidy him up a little bit. We are where we need to be on this area. So I'll probably just tidy him up a little bit, and then when we come back, we will work more on the face, and we'll be roughly where we need to be. So we'll call that a stop there, and I'll be back on the next one. Ta-da for now.